Okay, well, the trials and tribulations of live streaming on YouTube. Yes, this look on my face is one of extreme anger over now my computer decides to want to mess up on me. Trying this again. Waiting for confirmation to see if we are actually live out there. Okay, I think we're back finally. All I can do is just laugh at this point. Really, that's all I can do. For anybody that was waiting, if you abandoned me, I deserve it. Technical difficulties as usual. Not much I can do about it. I apologize, but perseverance, I guess, is all I have at this moment. So we're up. We're finally going. Yeah, here, let's get some humor. Finally. So anyways, gonna be some humming probably. I have to run the fans right now. It's gotten actually probably part of the problem was it was too hot in here. And so anyways, let's get started. Any agent can tell you, oh, it's a buyer's market, it's a seller's market. You know, that's easy for them to say. But I think that as professionals, we need to be able to go further. We need to delve into and understand the reasons why the real estate market is where it's at. If we say it's this, if we say it's that, we can't just be regurgitating what we're hearing from the National Association of Realtors. That's, you know, that's just use of words and replaying what they're telling us. We need to be better than that. Okay. So when I say, if I want my client, and I want my clients to trust me, if I tell them, well, this is the state of the market and here is the reason why, I think that when I can go to that extent and I can give more than just the standard wordplay of what's being sent to us, that really gives some credibility and, you know, works on building that trust, which is important to have with the clients. All right. So today's video is going to be about the state of the market. It is Tuesday evening. I'm finally up and running. Massive failure technologically on the forefront there, but we're getting through it. It is April 10th. I am Brad Jenkins, Brad J, Tampa Bay realtor here. I've been at this business now for 8 years, and yes, I love it, and I love Tampa Bay. So a couple of good things together, and I get to be able to do this. So I'm very blessed with it, and thank you. So we are in a seller's market, and let's talk about those reasons why. First off, 8% up from year over year last year. This time is the price of houses. That's an 8% growth year to year. That's from Realtor.com. So there's no signs of seeing this slow down. And there are many reasons why. And first off, we're going to talk about why it's a seller's market, beginning with the lack of inventory. And I'm sure that you've heard some of this out there, but I want to go deeper into the reasons of why there is very little inventory. All right. And some of those reasons are really one of the biggest ones is that the majority of houses out there are really under a lease, under rental contract. Some of the largest holders of real estate are Blackstone, and we've got Invitation Homes. Invitation Homes is currently has over 80,000 homes under contract. If you stop and think about the average rental being between $1,200 and $1,500, it doesn't take long to do the math and see what kind of revenue these companies are generating by having rental properties. So that is your biggest factor right there. And we're kind of in a log jam in that the rental market is where it's at. Let me see what we got next here. The ROI, that's the return on investment. That's what these investors are getting back, is very steady. Lows running somewhere around 8 to 9%, with highs being upwards of 12, 16, 18%, landing you in the middle of somewhere between 12 and 13%. Now, most of these investors that own these real estate properties, there's not much other place that they can go to and put their money in right now that is safe and is going to generate the types of returns that they are getting with these rental properties. It's just plain and simple. The stock market is up and down. You know, they were hoping, most of the investors were hoping with the change of regime in the White House, being more towards a business-friendly occupant there, that the stock market was just going to go up, up, up. I mean, I know that I had several investors that are what I call buy and holders. You know, they buy the property, they hold it, rent it. You know, inquire of me, hey, you know, as soon as we've got that change in the White House, you know, we're going to be ready and probably look at divesting ourselves of some of these properties so we can move our, you know, our monies into the stock market. Well, unfortunately, that really has not happened. And there's been a lot of moves by the White House that has really shook up the stock market. You know, and it's just this up and down roller coaster, really. You know, down 500 one day, and you know, come back in the next morning, it's back up, then it's back down, then it's back up. So there's really a lack of consistency of returns coming from the stock market itself, and enough to justify for these these owners of real estate rentals to divest themselves right now. So I don't see anything really in the right now on the horizon that is going to alter or change that position right now. So, and the other thing too is that you have people that are renting, they do want to buy, and they understand, you know, for some reason they break this lease or they're not making their lease payments on time. That's going to reflect on their credit report. Actually, credit bureaus, credit bureaus are accepting rental history now as part of the overall credit score. So that's helping some people, but for some people who haven't been paying on time, that can hurt them as well. So this little factor is really, you know, keeping the money and the revenue flowing at a much better rate than maybe it has in the past, because, you know, again, you know, Bob and Sally renting, you know, they eventually want to buy, and they know their rent payments are being calculated into their overall credit score. So, you know, they are paying on time. Let's see. Yep. So we got that. So the ROI is good. I had to kind of laugh with Mr. Lawrence Young. Now, I'm no economist, but, you know, I did happen to teach economics in high school for a little while. So, you know, I'm not a novice to economic theory. I'm certainly no pro, but to have an economist come out and start chastising landlords and investment companies like Blackstone and Invitation Homes that they need to sell their properties to fix the economy, they're under no obligation to, you know, change or you know, fix anything. No one is. You know, so it's just, in my mind, laughable that someone would come out and just chastise a big swath of investors and just simply say, well, you know, you need to sell your investment homes for the greater good. That's not going to happen. What do we got now? Okay, so another aspect that is playing a factor into the shortage of available homes has to do with the builders. And, you know, here again, you know, the builders are taking a look at their bottom line. They're going to be operating under what's best for them. And right now, it's not in their best interest to build spec homes. They are going to keep inventory low so that they can get a premium for their houses. I do a lot of new home sales and been doing so over the past 8 years. And I'm just flabbergasted to see homes that, 7 years ago, 6 years ago, I was helping clients buy at between 99 and 115, to see those same homes now on the market for 234,000 just in a short time of 5 or 6 years. That's crazy. But that's what it is. There's no injustice here. They're not breaking any laws. It's just a matter of economics and the way that it goes. So they're not going to do anything to upset the apple cart. All right. They won't come out and admit it, but I will tell you, home builders are very, very happy with the state of real estate as it is right now, being a seller's market. Not only that, but when they're building in these communities, they're very confident at the price points being held up when the appraisals, because you've got 5 houses that have sold around you. They're going to keep raising prices. I was just at one little community here a couple of weeks ago. They have a $1,500 price increase heading April 15th, I believe. And then another one scheduled for another $1,000. They're just going to keep bumping and bumping and bumping. And they're not going to be building many at all, if any, spec homes because it's not worth it. And number one. Number two, they're too busy trying to stay up with what's going on now with the demand. So I'm sure, if they wanted to build spec homes, they could increase their payroll and bring in more skilled tradespeople to get this done. But that's not going to happen. That's not in their best interest. And really, there's no reason to. So got your new home builders, and they're going to ride it along. Again, I mentioned earlier, the stock market is extremely volatile. There's no consistency. The risk is high, and especially the risk is high for the returns. Why would you take a risky, maybe 20, 25% chance of getting a return equal to what you're getting in a rental? It's basic economic sense. There's no conspiracy here. It's just good theory and good practice, and it's not anybody's fault regarding what it is now. Every business has a right to thrive, and every business has a right within the laws of the United States to effectively try to make a profit and exist. And that's what we have here. Nothing greater than that's what's going on. Okay. Another big problem is the trade and tariff wars that are being perpetuated right now. Now we're going to be seeing rising prices on steel is the one biggest thing. And, you stop and think about it. That's going to affect a lot of people, a lot of consumers. Beer cans, anything that's sold in cans, they're going to take a huge hit. Automakers across the board, So they're going to have to, and trust me, the businesses aren't going to absorb that cost. They're going to pass it along to Joe Blow consumer, you and I. So another issue and another problem that's indirectly affecting housing. But again, coming back into the stock market, where the stock market's going, what it's doing up and down, that's going to be the big indicator, when this housing shortage might end. I don't think that it's going to, really, to be honest with you. We'll get to that analysis in a minute here when we get down to the end. Now, something on the other side, and I'm trying not to sneeze. Lord help me, please don't. But something on the back end that's kind of limiting some of the potential buyers. And really, if this weren't in place, we would even have a greater number of buyers looking to try to get in. But student loan debt is something that is weighing heavily across the board, not just in real estate, but everywhere. And here's what's kind of happened. I'm not exactly sure. I think it was October, maybe last year, somewhere along that lines in the fall. FHA come out, or HUD, Fannie Mae, I don't know. It doesn't matter who. But basically, they came out and changed the way that student loan debt was being calculated into a borrower's potential basically portfolio, what they looked at, in other words, the debt that they had, how much they were paying per month, things of that nature. And the way it used to be calculated was if let's say you were either on a complete forbearance, you had zero payments, then you had zero debt as far as a student loan payment was concerned on your debt ratio. Many people were making some payments, but it was based on their income. So they had an income reduction payment in place of what the actual payment should be. All right. Well, for some reason, whichever entity, I think it was HUD, came in and said, no more. You student loan borrower, your full $400 monthly payment is going to be calculated into your debt. Now, I don't understand what the reasoning behind this was. What was the motivation, because they really didn't come out and say, what criteria, what data, what research was there that prompted them to say, okay, well, you're hurting us in the past because, let's say, you're only having $120 payment rate this month or this year on your student loan, but when it goes up, you're defaulting. So if it goes up from 120 and for some reason it goes to the full 400, which you're supposed to be paying, you're defaulting. So I can't locate any data anywhere that is clear on, percentage of defaults over the past 5 years of people who had debt calculations based on a forbearance or a reduced payment on their student loan. I haven't seen that data to back up that decision. So I'm not exactly sure where that came from. But really, in a way, to some extent, not that it's good, but I can only imagine how much tighter this inventory situation would be, because I think I probably knocked out maybe about 20% of potential buyers. You had a lot of people that, thanks to the payment reduction, or the forbearance that they had, at that point in time, they were eligible to buy a home based on their total debt ratio. But once this new rule came in, you just basically body slammed a bunch of potential buyers and kept them out of the market. So not sure how much longer, if that's going to be revisited, but that is one other factor that's sitting out there that's kind of pulling back a little bit and not making this inventory shortage be worse than what it is now. So that's something that you're going to want to kind of keep in the back of your mind as being an issue there as well. Now, some concerns that I'm having in watching the market and watching what's going on, everybody talks about bubbles coming and things of that nature. And, first off, I missed something. I wanted to talk about interest rates. What I think about interest rates impact on right now, zero. I just sit there and cringe every time I hear agents and everybody else, oh, you need to buy now because interest rates are going up, blah, 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 blah. Just shut up. Seriously. Yeah, this kind of scare tactic, get you to buy right now, really, coming from a realtor, it just disgusts me. All right. We're not in the business of scaring people to have to buy. Because you know what? Then you got to look that person in the eye. If you're trying to retain them, if you're a decent realtor and you have a business plan, your number one source of great referrals is your own previous customer base. And so if you've lied to them, if you've told them and gotten them to maybe possibly buy because you've put a scare into them, you're just completely unprofessional. I'm not going to use degenerative words, but seriously, you're just not professional and you need to get out. That's not how to do a business. That's not how you build a business model of integrity and making the customer the number one priority. Okay, so interest rates, don't concern yourself with them. Big concern when I saw a couple weeks ago headlines that the DoddFrank Act was being repealed. That made me pause. That made me stop for a minute and say, uh-oh, this is, we're going backwards. We're loosening up the regulations on banks. I'm not going to go completely into all the details You know, banks have to keep a certain amount of money on hand. They have to, I think, have a certain in escrow deposit with the Fed, and there's a lot of technical stuff as far as what banks are required to do and have to do. There's also the stress test. Now, I think the stress test was being kept as part of the situation, but there was like a ceiling amount of money that, you know, they had to do, or a ratio, and that's been like almost quadrupled. So we're loosening up the regulations on the banks, because the banks are crying because they can't make enough loans where they are now. You know, so it's interesting. You've got two different investors kind of butting heads and you know, going against each other. You've got the one investment side, of course, the buy and holds, the rentals, and things of that nature, and then you've got the banks, you know, who aren't making as much money because they're not making as much loans, because there's not enough houses out there to fund and to sell. So that is certainly something that's interesting, watching these two in the same field battle it out. So we'll have to watch how that goes. But I am concerned about the repeal of DoddFrank. It's not quite there yet, but we'll see. You want to keep an eye on that and watch where that goes. I'm seeing a lot more subprime mortgage advertisements, and I'm beginning to see some of the beginnings of what was going on back in 05, 06, 07. Well, 07, I think we crashed. So 04, 05, 06, you know, less and less trying to loosen up the criteria. But again, that's just short-term thinking. You know, it's only looking at your bottom line today. And, you know, we've been through this. We just went through this 7, 8 years ago. Yet here we are again. We fail to grasp and understand, you know, what has happened to us in history, and we're doing it again. So start watching for those subprime mortgages coming back out again. They're not good. Now, job growth has been good. 4% unemployment, 4% unemployment. Almost, that's pretty much considered almost full employment. But the problem is that the jobs that are and have been out there that's part of that growth, the wage growth has not happened. The wages are way down, and frankly, they're not really where they need to be to support the asking prices of where the housing market is right now. So until we can get that take-home wage, you know, increased, we're going to continue to stay in this circle that we're in of low inventory. So we've got to get the job wages up. And really, I think that, you know, as a challenge to the average person out there, don't just settle. You know, figure out how to increase your scalability. You know, your job set, your skill set. You know, that can hopefully bring you more money. Hey, I want everybody to make money. Okay, so you know, got to take a little bit of that responsibility on there. Figure out how to increase your value and increase your worth. Is there a bubble coming? I don't see it right now. Are there concerns? Yes. Things to be worried about? Absolutely. But as far as a full-on out bubble happening, no. Those are scare tactics. I believe they're just people that are saying it that are garnering for some sort of attention. You know, it's going to take a massive overnight dump of available houses onto the market to see a change, because, you know, prices will change based on inventory. It's simple, supply and demand. And as long as there is a greater demand than the supply is able to support, then those prices will continue to rise. I've given you what I think are the major key points to keep an eye out for, and, you know, kind of keep your thumb on the pulse of what's happening. And so, you know, until we see something that is going to spur these rental houses to be turned over and liquidated, we're going to pretty much stay where we are. I don't see anything that's going to, you know, force that type of sale. And I really don't want to see anything artificial come in, because again, we had the artificial stimulation back in the 2000s, early 2000s, and that's where we wound up in 2006 and 7, and it wasn't good. So, you know, we need to keep the hands off of the economy and let the economy naturally work its way through. And this will come around. Everything does. Nothing lasts forever. Real estate is just, it's this big pendulum, okay? I don't know which way, but, you know, it's going to go this way. It's going to come back this way, you know, and the greatest time to be in, you know, for the most part, to the benefit of everybody, is for it to be in the middle, have a nice balance. But it's not going to stay there, you know, and then we're going to do something stupid, and then then it goes back to the other way. So, you know, my duty, I believe, as a realtor, is to make sure that all of my clients and anybody that I talk to has a clear and valid picture of what I believe is the market, not based on what's best for me. I'm confident I'll survive no matter what happens with the market. But I actually learned how to be a realtor at the almost the bottom of the market in 2010, 2011. When did I start? Oh, I can't remember. 7, 8 years. Yeah, 2010, I think. But you know, so I learned how to be a real estate agent. I wasn't in the process earlier when all you had to do was sit there and wait for the phone to ring, and you didn't have to do anything. No, that's not the way it is now. So, and a lot of people finding that out. But let's see, what else do I want to come up with? If you need to sell, okay, go for it. You'll do well. You won't be on the market long if it's priced right. Don't let agents come in and tell you that it's worth way more. At least interview 3 and demand that they provide proof to you on what they believe the price is and how they're coming up with it. If you don't have to sell right now, I say hold on, hold out. At least go another 12 months and see where it's going. Just, you know, keep your eye on the market. Check back in here with me every couple of months. I'm going to do this market report every once in a while. You know, I don't need to hit you every week or every month, you know, with what's going on. If something big, drastic happens right away, of course, I will let you know. You can follow me on Instagram daily, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. I'm on there as well. So if something breaking or something, you know, catastrophic happens, it's going to be a major change in this market. You can bet that I'm going to give you the honest truth about that. All right. But just watch your indicators. No need to sell right now. Yeah, you get a good penny for it, but you know, where are you willing to leave it at in regards to what you'll get in return? If you don't need to buy, I'm advising you not to. Yes, I know. You heard a real estate agent, you heard a realtor tell you, don't buy. You know, Tampa Bay realtor right here, baby. All about my Tampa Bay Bucks and Rays and everybody here in the Tampa Bay area. I love this area, but yes, I'm telling you, if you don't have to buy, now's not the time. Okay. And I tell you that with a straight face, because I'm not a, what's that, Chicken Little, the sky's falling, you know, you got to buy right now. No, not happening. You know, because my words have to mean something, and it has to have that integrity behind it, and to know that I'm giving you the best advice and giving you the best knowledge that I have. If you don't need to buy, don't. If you have to, I understand. And if you have to buy, please take your time. I don't care if you're in Wichita. I don't care if you're in San Diego, Minneapolis, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Charleston, West Virginia, Wheeling, West Virginia, my hometown. I don't care where you are. Take the time and don't be in a rush and interview 3 buyer's agents. And I'm going to give you a little tip. Not most, but not all, but a lot of new agents start out being buyer's agents. So the likelihood of you running into an agent who's either fairly brand new, is brand new or almost new, is going to be pretty high. So take your time, interview them, talk with them, and ask them if they're a fiduciary. That's what I'm going to leave you with. Ask them if they're a fiduciary. And if they don't know what that word means, and they can't tell you how they are a fiduciary, keep digging till you find one that does. All right. Next Tuesday, I'm going to talk about OfferPad. Yes, OfferPad. Apps, real estate apps. I've been kind of hammering this topic on Instagram daily. So I actually showed a house to a client that was for sale by OfferPad. And so I was able to track what they paid for the house. And it's going to be some interesting insight on the numbers that potential sellers are losing by possibly working with someone who's given them a cash offer. So we'll take a look at that. I'll try not to be biased. I'll try to make sure that I give a fair and complete overview of it, but this is something I'm looking forward to doing. All right. Hey, I'm Brad J, Tampa Bay. I am a realtor. I try to be a professional realtor, try to be honest with you, give you the truth. Like I said, I'm on Instagram live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. And let's see. If you ever have any questions, 727-210-5681. Text me, call me. I don't always able to answer. Leave me a voicemail. If you have a question, I will call you back. DM me, send me a message on Instagram, send me a message. I'm on Facebook, Brad J, Tampa Realtor. And I love talking real estate. I love talking about Tampa Bay. And so we'll see you next Tuesday. Hopefully the glitches will be over with, and we'll get that taken care of. So I apologize we didn't get started on time, but we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.